Sid Russman on some policy issues that he and Mickey are looking at, and got a report that the EMS billing is looking like that process is good. There's not really enough information, not enough months of information yet to see whether the trend is there, but he is happy with the report structures that he can get, the information that he can see. We talked a little bit about a process for paying some of our bills electronically versus having to cut the total number of checks that we're doing now. So that's some things that he'll be preparing for us to look at as a procedural things in the coming months. And with that, we would recommend the approval of the consent agenda.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the Finance Committee? If not, then I'll go ahead.
Yeah, I was looking at page 21, capital outlay. I'm showing that we paid Terra Firm $135,000. I thought it was supposed to be like $99,000. So I'm confused at how it came under if we paid $135,000.
The original contract was $99,720. Then we came back for a change order that included some additional damage that took place, we believe, because of the June 3rd flood. And the board approved $45,000 in that change order. So it's a cost savings roughly of $10,000 of that $45,000 that we did not spend. Does that make sense?
If you say so.
I believe the Finance Committee had the same question.
Yeah, we had the same question. We had the original contract, then we had the change order, which we approved as a board, which got it to 144, and we've only spent 135. Yes, it is more than the original 999.
Any other questions for the Finance Committee? If there are none, we'll also take a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion we approve the
Have a motion. Have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Next is public comments. Jennifer Waddell, who's on there from McDowell Street, it's my understanding she's not going to be here this evening. I don't see her. Anybody else in the public wish to comment? Okay. Next is mayor's report. The grand opening of the new Trails Regional Library. That is in your invitation. I don't know if you received one in the mail as well, but it's in the agenda packet there. It's on the January 18th at 2:30 p.m. at their new location. So if you're available and you can attend, they would appreciate that. Wanted to thank Alderman Bellington for coming in for me. Appreciate that. This past Friday, I issued a proclamation to the high school football team for their second place finish at the state championships. This was at the basketball game that they had versus Pleasant Hill. Basically, the proclamation just congratulated the coaches, the coaching staff, the players, and the cheerleaders, and everybody affiliated with the football program on their accomplishments. And again, I want to congratulate them on their season. Saturday, January 23rd, beginning at 6 p.m. here at the community building, Partners for Parks is having a fundraiser, a poker tournament. You can purchase tickets from any Partners for the Park member. You can purchase tickets from their board members or call the park office. I believe El Camino is catering. Last thing I have is that now that we're getting into colder temperatures, I saw a pretty alarming, or I had a pretty alarming conversation with Chief Newhouse about some kids getting out on the ice at Lake Bonita. Temperatures don't usually get cold enough for ice to be safe to walk on. If you have an animal that gets out into the ice and they need help then you need to call 911. The fire department is trained, they have the equipment to get to go out and be in those types of environments. Under no circumstances should you be on any frozen lakes, frozen ponds, or anything like that. It's very dangerous, and all the city parks that have lakes and bodies of waters, it's also illegal. So, again, remind your kids and anybody that you see that may have that notion to do that, and that's not safe. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, as I understand it, so. All right, that's all that I have. Next, Alderman reports. Alderman Henning.
Nothing to report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Bell.
Nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Lockhart.
Nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Carney.
Nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Wright.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Stevens didn't send me anything to comment on, so next we'll move into Department Manager's report. We have EMS, Community Planning Development, and Public Works. Any comments on those?
I think where Ruth Dam was wanting to throw away some files or something.
Yeah,
Didn't we just get through throwing away some files within the last year?
That's usually an every year occurrence, whenever they have to dispose of records, as it's a state statute, so next year I'm sure she'll have some more records that'll have to be destroyed. So.
Well, it said every 6 years, so I,
Right, you have to keep the record for 6 years, but the way I understand it is every year, when the 6-year mark is reached for that record, that's when you destroy it. Does that make sense?
yes.
Any other questions or comments on those staff reports? All right, seeing.
Thank you.
Yep.
Paul mentioned that he was going to be checking on leasing equipment, and I was wondering what type of equipment we're looking at for leasing.
We're looking at mini track hauls. We've looked at trying to find tractors that we could lease, companies that we could lease tractors and mowers, just all kinds of, everything that we have.
You know, what's the purpose of it?
Well, we're gonna have to start to replace some of them, and we can either replace it with a lease package or buy outright.
This was raised from the Finance Committee. Alderman Stevens specifically asked us about this. We have some equipment that is either repairs on them would be too much, so we want to compare what's the repair cost to the leased cost, and can we save money by doing that? And so we're looking at some options. We've looked at 3 lease companies so far, and we're trying to gather the data so that we can make a good report of what that would look like.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, we will move into old business, which there is none. Next is new business. The first item was Matt Flaherty for the benefit of Brian Wilkie. He has called City Hall and stated that that is no longer necessary. So he is not going to be speaking tonight before you. The next item is Carol Sadler with Helping Hands. Ms. Sadler, if you don't mind coming to the podium and using the microphone.
If I can grab the chair, I can do it.
If you can't, that's fine, you can. Thanks, Judy.
Thank you. Okay. Usually my mouth's big enough, I don't need one of these. But came to you about several things today. And one is that, I don't know how many of you are aware where we're at right now. We're kind of across from the Odessa. We are in a building that is right next to the alley that comes out onto Mason. We only have one parking space in front of our place. And I spoke to Chief Newhouse here a while back about it. And we wondered if there was any way that we could put a sign up there that says that it's a loading zone. We'd like to have it say a Helping Hands loading zone only Monday through Friday from 9 to 6. Is there any way we could get this accomplished? That was one of the things that I wanted to talk to about. Do I need to go on, or do I need to see what you want to say about this?
Why don't you go ahead and go on with your other request?
Okay, the other thing is that we put steps out from the front of our building in Helping Hands, and we need to put railings up, but the railings would have to go into the sidewalk cement. I was told that it would probably be better if we asked the city to put the railings up, because it's your liability situation there, so we were hoping that maybe we could come to an agreement on that. We don't mind doing it, but we want to do it properly, but we just don't want anybody to fall and hurt themselves, primarily me. I'm a bad one to get up and down those steps, but we have a lot of people coming in there that really need the help of a good railing. Okay, and the third thing that I wanted to talk to you about is possibly putting a one-page newsletter. I have a sample here of what we might do. If you want to see it, we could pass it around. Would you do that for me? I think I only have 5 or 6, but maybe you give one to each table. We thought this would get to a lot of people that would possibly not really, there's a lot of people in town that still don't really know about us. And one of the things that we're very interested in doing is having this come out very near future, because we're having one of our big money makers for the year is a rummage sale. And we're looking for somebody that might possibly have some room that we could store things between now and when the rummage sale would be in May. So, we're trying to drum up interest of people who will help, but we're also got certain things that we're very interested in doing. We would like to be able to put a newsletter like this out early spring. We'd like to do another one in maybe November that would talk about our Christmas store. And I don't know how many of you are aware of our Christmas store, but we serve about 130 families and over 3,000 gifts that we gave away, that people could come in and they could choose what they wanted. And so it's very important that we alert the community to donate and to help us out with that type of thing. So those are 2 of the reasons that we'd like to do it twice in this 1 year if we could. And this, what I handed out, would be basically a sample of what we do, but it wouldn't be 2 pages, it would just be the 1 page, and it would be pretty close to this. I just want to make sure that the facts and the dates and stuff are correct on it.
So the first time you want this newsletter is in March, is that correct?
Yes. Or February or March, yeah. And then I suppose that we need to provide them, and I don't know how many that we have to provide. How many, do you know how many goes out?
About 2,300.
2,300. So we would provide this to put in. Do we need to fold it, or?
No, we have a machine.
Okay, all right.
So let's take these, one at a time here. Let's do the newsletter first. I'll tell you, we will go ahead and consider the in February,
Okay.
March newsletter. The one for November, if that's something that you're gonna wanna do, you'll have to come back.
Okay,
And if
I can do that.
Okay, so we'll do the newsletter for March. So I'll open that up to the board. If they have any questions. Go ahead.
I would make a motion that we allow Helping Hands of Odessa to provide a one-page one-page insert for one sheet in the insert for the March billing cycle.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second to allow Helping Hands to provide one sheet, one-page newsletter for the March billing cycle. Is there any discussion on that? Okay, and you said this is what you would put in there?
Well, the only thing that I would probably do different is I would like to state the date that we're gonna have the sale, the rummage sale, and I don't have that date yet. I will have it probably within a week. But that'd be the only change that I would make on it. It's down here, it would be like the second paragraph from the end coming up, and I would like to put the date so that people would know. You know, I don't want them to be thinking that, you know, we're having a rummage sale next fall. So I just want to make sure, and when I typed this up, I really didn't have the date. I didn't know for sure when the girls were going to do it.
Then I would amend the motion to include the fact that with Administrator Aries' approval.
Okay,
Instead.
have a motion to amend. Is there a second to the amendment?
And what did you amend, please?
He wanted, and I was gonna, in fact, I was gonna suggest the same thing, is that whenever you get the dates that Administrator Area approves it, he'll have final approval on whether or not it will actually, once you change it, go into the
And who
newsletter.
will get the approval?
He,
And how do I get to you?
At the City Hall.
Okay, all right, thank you. Now, I'm probably going to do this within the next week because I'm having surgery the 25th and won't be available for a few weeks after that. So I'll do it pretty quick.
That's fine.
Okay.
and I would be fine with doing that without the motion, unless you have.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know whether we needed to amend the motion.
To do that, not for that.
I'll withdraw the amendment.
Okay, so you get that changed, get it to him for
You
approval?
bet. You
Okay.
bet, I will.
All right. All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve this. Any other discussion on it? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries 6-0, 5-0. All right, next, let's take up the sign issue. Any questions about the signs? Chief?
I would like to work with her just to see what kind of vehicle we're talking about. I mean, I don't want it to be like the plaza where you have semis or something parked in the middle of the street and unloading. But maybe we could work up something without really putting a sign or working with her. So I'd like to see how the whole thing works out first. Is that all right?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
I would
what
like
you said.
I'd like to work with you by going and see what kind of vehicle comes into your place to unload and see what we can do and how long it's there and all that kind of stuff.
Well, the longest that anybody's there is us when we're unloading. And we're usually there for an hour to an hour and a half. And it's usually a pickup truck or a van. But we do have, on our open time, which is Tuesday from 9 to 2, 9 to 2, and then again Thursday from 2 to 6, we leave that space open for people to be able to back in there and pick up their groceries and stuff. So, I mean, you're looking at cars, vans, various things, you know.
But I think when we were talking was just the unloading portion. I think you're talking about signage now for reserved signage for your guests, right?
Yeah, well, what we would do is say it's a loading zone, not either unloading or break. Am I missing the point?
Well, I think the concern is that you're wanting it labeled a loading zone, but you're wanting it shut down Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Well, I struggled with the time element on this because even though we're only open 2 days a week, we get groceries another 2 days a week. And we were struggling with the time element because a lot of times we come back with, $2,000 worth of groceries and we have a heck of a time getting them unloaded because we can't get into our spot.
Mayor, if you don't mind, I would just like to stop in on one of your loading and unloading days, just
Sure.
to see what I'm looking at.
No, I was good. They were tracking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd be fine with that. The other issue with this request is that it would actually change the ordinance. It would be an ordinance
Change what?
We would actually have to change the ordinance because we have a no parking section of ordinance and code that we would have to
Okay.
amend. So it would be more process than just approving it tonight and installing a sign,
So it's something you really need to look into.
Yeah, it's.
Thursday is a good day to
Okay,
come.
I'll just make a plan.
Thursday from 2 to 6 is when we're open. Yeah.
Any other, Alderman Lockhart?
Isn't there an alley
There is
between
an
you and the
alley.
building on the east of your building there?
There is an alley,
And
and we
that is
actually,
always open, you could back the car into that
actually
spot.
opened a door in the back there for it. But it's a real struggle because people come through there to pay their electric bill and they can't get back out if we're parked in
No, I'm
there.
not talking about the west alley, I'm talking about the alley on the east between you and the flower store.
Flower Shop has confiscated that, and they will never let us use it. I've
I'm
struggled.
not asking you to use the alley, I'm saying you can park on the street there. They can't control that street for you to unload. I mean, I'm sure that,
Well,
you know what I'm
We-
saying.
we
I mean,
have
I know
similar
there's, a
problems.
spot there that could be used
Well,
without
we
having
do
to.
use that. We do use that,
Okay.
but sometimes when we go, we take 2 vehicles, so we like
Well,
to.
it just keeps getting more complicated, doesn't it?
Well, we're just wanting to, if we can, what we're mainly concerned about is somebody using that spot that stays there. I've seen a truck like parked there for 3 days in a row, not moved from day or night, so I don't know where it's at. So it's like, it's not just the everyday people, you know, it's more my concern that somebody maybe that's one in the apartments, I don't know where they're from, but some of the vehicles are taking that spot and keeping it for 2 and 3 days in a row.
Alderman Belling, did you have a question?
I think if we look at this request, I think we set a precedent for looking at anybody else on any of the Main Street area parking that says, well, I want a reserved spot in front of my building. And I think it sets a really bad precedent to, you know, I would love to be able to do it, but I don't see how I could then deny anybody else the right to do it. And pretty soon you have 25 reserved parking spots.
Yeah.
Let's,
You know, if we wanted to look at something, and I know it becomes an administrative nightmare to say, you know, you've got 2-hour parking or 4-hour parking between a certain time, but then that becomes an administrative issue to do that.
I would just like to work with her on options to see what we can do without blocking alleyways and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, let's do that.
Would there be an objection to us just putting a sign in our window that says we need this for loading at a certain time, and we'd only put it up when we needed it?
Yeah, I don't think that you,
But I don't think that's not an enforceable thing.
yeah, somebody
No,
has.
you're right.
You can make a
I know that's
request that, you
right.
know, we can please not park here during these times, but it's not something anybody can enforce.
Right, I understand. Well, if you guys would come by, maybe we could
Thursday.
work something out.
Thursday will stop.
That would be great.
All right, and then last was the railings.
Right.
You're needing railings to go into the concrete.
The steps they come out in 2, I think there's 2 steps that we've made them very shallow so people can get up them, but we still need a railing. I'm trying to think of the lady that comes and checks things. Sybil mentioned that the railing possibly needed to be put down into the sidewalk, you know, the holder for the railing. And that it was my understanding that the sidewalk is the city's liability, so I didn't want for us to be going and trying to put a railing up that wasn't right or wasn't done right, and I thought maybe that I could ask to see if you would put a railing up for us.
Council?
There is a liability issue there, but I'm not sure it's all the city's liability. But Sybil or Paul or something needs to look at the situation and maybe give me a call, and then he can make the recommendation.
Okay.
At the very least, I think we need some pictures of what we're looking at.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
So staff will get in touch with you, and they'll go over the railing as well, and the issues
Okay.
there, and then they'll talk with legal counsel, get pictures, that way they can put together a report. And if there's something that, at that time that the city needs to do, this board needs to act on, and they'll bring that in front of the board as well.
Yeah, actually, I talked to the gentleman across the street from us that has an accounting business tax, and he said that you folks put the railing up for him, and it really made sense, you know, when you look at the liability issues. So that's why I thought it would be better to check with you folks.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, any other questions, comments? All right, so, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
We appreciate it.
I'll see you Thursday,
And I'll tell Pam to look for you.
Thursday.
Okay.
All right, next is EMS records disposal request. With that information.
Yes. This is what we talked about earlier, just getting a vote of the board to dispose of these records. Take any questions, if there's questions.
I'll make a motion that we approve the request from EMS for disposal of records as listed.
Have motions? Alderman Carmody seconds, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Next is the city administrator report, Mr. Airy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and board. Really some good things that are happening in our city. As of today, we've secured all of the easements necessary for the Johnson Drive project, which is a CDBG grant-funded project, so that project will move ahead with both our engineers and with Freddie Wells, our grant writer, so that was good news. Our code officer has contacted all the businesses along 2nd Street north of the railroad tracks to inform them about the sidewalks being their responsibility for snow and ice removal. The only request that we had from a business owner was that MoDOT came through, they cleaned the sidewalk, MoDOT came through the snow onto the sidewalk. So can there be some leniency there whenever snow and ice is on there? I've asked our code officer, Ms. Wilson, just to use some common sense with that as we administer that. Prairie Fire Development was not selected by the Missouri Housing Development Commission, and that became official word this week. We wanted the board to be aware of that. The CDBG grant for the Southeast Wastewater Treatment Plant, an emergency grant that we filed for, was awarded to the city. We got our confirmation letter today of $500,000, so that will help offset the cost of the Southeast Wastewater Treatment Plant, the new filters. Also, I just want to follow up with the spillway. As you heard earlier, the total price did come in at $135,000. The roughly $35,000, we have talked to FEMA today to see if that $35,000 could be considered as part of the recovery from FEMA. They spoke very favorably of it, but they were not the final decision makers, but we did file all that paperwork with FEMA representatives today. FEMA was in town to look at the 4 or 5 projects that we do have that we are considering as FEMA projects, the spillway, Phillips and Connor, McDowell Street, the Southeast Treatment Plant, and then there was some damage done to City Hall. We walked through all of those with FEMA representatives today, and they're going to be working on that information. So that brings me to, I've talked to the mayor about the possibility of doing a work session on January 25th at 6 o'clock concerning McDowell Street, that we can begin moving forward on that project. And so the city engineers have gathered all their information. City finance director is in the process of looking at a funding strategy. As I said, we met with the FEMA representatives today and kind of got their perspective on the McDowell Street project. But if we could do a workshop on January 25th at 6 o'clock p.m. prior to the Board of Aldermen meeting, I think we can give you some information about that project. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Any questions, City Administrator?